This practice is for my friend Marilyn. I asked her, how does she know that she's had a really good practice? What's the feeling? And she said it's a feeling almost of a tingling sensation. And sometimes we do get that feeling of tingling all the way from the base of the spine to the crown of the head. That is a very enlivening feeling. We'll start by doing some pranayama and then advance on to a half sun salute, followed by some standing poses, and then finally, of course, supine poses. So thank you so much, Marilyn, for telling me all about your favorite practice and what the practice creates for you. Let's begin by taking a comfortable seated position. And as you do, you can just rock forward slightly and rock back to find what feels to you like the center of the sit bones, these rocker bones that you sit on, and just kind of move one side to the other to just kind of feel like what sort of balanced action can you get from the left to right side. Nadhi shodhana is what we'll be doing, and nadhi means flow. And shodhana means purification. And this purification is of these energy centers. And there are many benefits to this alternate nostril breath work. And one is that it balances out what's called the sun and the moon side. And some people translate that as the right and left side of the brain. And it's often translated as the masculine and feminine aspects. And the benefits of this practice is that you get a lot of clarity, alertness, and concentration. So even during the day, if you only have 2 or 3 minutes, just to stop and get this clarity through alternate nostril breath work is a great practice. So as you start, put the index finger, the middle finger to the base of the thumb, and the ring finger and the pinky fingers together. So as you press the base just a little bit on the right side, breathe out through the left nostril and breathe in through the left nostril. Toggle your ring finger and your baby finger to the left nostril and breathe out right. And it's a very soft touch with the fingertips. Breathe in through the right. Close off the right and breathe out through the left. Breathe in left. Close off the left and breathe out right. Breathe in right. And press just at the crease of the nose there with the thumb and breathe out left. Breathe in left. And close off left to breathe out right. Breathe in right. Close it off. Breathe out left. In breath, left nostril. Close it off. Breathe out right. Breathe in right. Close it. Breathe out left. Breathe in left. And close it. Breathe out right. Breathe in right. Close it and breathe out left. Breathe in left. And close it and breathe out right. Breathe in and breathe out. Release your hand. Soften the facial muscles and have what feels like a free and natural breath. Let's come to downward facing dog, or child's pose if you prefer. This is a way to bring our awareness now to the back side of the body to just kind of move freely if you wish, to just kind of bring some awareness all the way from the fingertips to the feet. You can move slightly if you wish to just kind of allow that alertness now to translate itself to alertness of the body. The outer body becomes just a little bit brighter, a little bit softer, actually, just through the inner fire that you can build up through that flow, that natural flow of the breath in nadhi shodhana. And walk your feet up to your hands. Place your hands to your low back, and let's all meet at the front of the mat. And as you meet at the front of the mat, have your feet parallel to each other. Spread your fingers and turn your palms forward. And with a nice openness of the palms of the hand, take the heads of the arm bones back so that you also have a nice openness of the chest. Inhale, reach your arms up and slightly back. Go nice and slow. Exhale, lead with the heart as you slowly take yourself down and just place your hands right at the shin bones. And inhale, just lengthen out to look forward. Exhale, you can soften down. Let's do this 2 more times here. With fullness of the breath, you expand and lift up. And exhale, you soften down. And one more time. Inhale with nice fullness and length to the side body. Exhale, you soften. With slightly bent knees, place your hands to your low back, hug your elbows in, and rise up. Reach your arms up again. Reach your arms back in a nice standing back bend. Exhale, come down to the earth so slowly with the fingers spread so that you tone the muscles of the arms. Now place the hands at the shin bones and expand and lift up. Exhale and soften. These half sun salutes have just a way of just bringing your attention back to the fullness of the breath with movement. You're just flowing with the breath here. One last time. Inhale, rise up, and exhale to soften. Slightly bend your knees so you can spring from the earth as you reach up and slightly back. Exhale, place your hands right in front of your heart. We'll do that cycle one more time with the hands pressing very fully, with the fingertip tops especially pressing in this prayer pose. Enliven your arms, enliven the strength of your shoulders by pressing your hands more firmly from the base of the fingers. You get this nice engagement of the forearms, the upper arms, the shoulders. From here, exhale, release your hands. Inhale, standing back bend, reach up and back. Exhale, lower yourself in the forward fold. Inhale, lengthen and lift up. Exhale and soften. And two more. Inhale, expand. Exhale and soften. And one more. Inhale to lengthen up. Exhale, soften. With your knees bent, place your hands right alongside your ankles and come back to a plank position. From plank position, lower yourself slowly to the mat. Once you're on the mat, on your belly, have your forearms pressing very fully down. Spread your fingers. Have your elbows right under your shoulders. And as if you're trying to glide your elbows back toward your feet, press into the fingertips, pull back the forearms isometrically to bring your heart forward. Just get this nice openness to the chest. Keep pulling the heads of the arm bones back as you open the chest nicely. And exhale, tuck your right toes under and just lift your right knee up and just notice the difference with the right toe still on the floor, the right knee lifted from the floor, the right hip on the floor. Inhale, just pull your heart forward and just feel how alive now, all the way from the heel to the heart you get, just with a simple action of tucking the toes under. Release the right knee down and tuck your left toes under with the left toes tucked under. See if you can get all five toes to tuck under. Pull back from the fingertips toward the elbows, elbows toward the toes to pull your heart forward. So you get this nice opening here. And exhale, release your knee down. Place your hands alongside your ribs. And with the hands alongside the ribs, use the strength of the back muscles to inhale and lift you up. Exhale, soften down. Place your arms again in that sphinx pose. And with your left arm, just take the left hand to the diagonal, to the opposite corner of the mat. Come to the left side, just roll to your left side. Take your top leg behind you. Just press into the forearm to see about lifting your pelvis up off the mat and drawing down, just to give a little bit more arm strength. Lift the pelvis up and draw it down. And again, lift the pelvis up and draw down. Come back to a sphinx position. In the sphinx position, same thing. Draw your heart forward as you pull the forearms back to just open up nicely. And take your right hand at the diagonal, pointing the right fingers to the left corner as you come to your side. Take your top leg behind you. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, draw down. Two more. Inhale, just a slight pelvic lift, and see if you can get the leg, the bent leg, to work a little bit more so it's not so much of a strain on your arm. Really press down in the foot to lift up, come back, come to the sphinx position again with the forearms down, pull back from the fingertips to draw the heart forward, and exhale, release down where you replace your hands alongside your ribs to come either to child's pose or downward facing dog, your choice. Pause here. And as you pause, just kind of allow the breath again to move so freely, to allow that life force energy, the prana, to move very freely and naturally. Allow the breath to kind of be its transport vehicle, just moving all the way from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Feel like this enlivened feeling as you lengthen the spine, as you create more fullness in the muscles of the back. And now walk your feet up to your hands. Place your hands to your low back and lift yourself up. We'll get just an idea of where we're going by placing hands to tall blocks. If you don't have tall blocks with you, no worries. You can just take your hands to the floor. But I like just working this pose just to get the idea of the form of the pose. So as you place your left foot just to the center of the mat, lift your right leg up. So keep your left hand and your left foot on the mat. Take your right hand free from the block so that the right leg and the right hand are lifted. Just open your chest nicely here. So it's a balance pose, but you're balancing with your hand to the block, your foot very firmly engaged. Reach your right arm up if you feel so inclined. So you just create this form of the pose here. And release your right hand to the block. Release your right foot to the mat. Center your right foot. And just pause here with both feet down, with the feet parallel, just to soften here. So now that you understand the form of the pose, we're going to reach your left leg up. Take your left hand from the block and lift your left arm high. And just see about creating more stability in the standing foot and the right hand. Just to allow the breath practice that we did to continue that alertness, that focus that you can get. Create fullness here. And slowly release your hand down to the floor or the block. Release your foot down. With bent knees, place your hands to your low back and lift yourself up to come to a nice wide stance. And just pause here for a moment in your wide stance with your feet parallel to each other. Draw your elbows in and open your chest really nicely. Bend your knees just slightly. And with the knees bent, notice how you can get so much power of that pulling in action from your feet all the way to the midline. That muscular energy that we've been working on to pull in very firmly. Keep that pulling in action as you take your hands to your low back and just come down just slightly. Keep pulling in so that we first can get the importance, the value of strength in the legs as you come to this forward bend here. Prasarita Padatanasana. Just keep your hands to the low back for now and trust in the power of the legs here as you pull the legs in toward each other. Inhale to lift up. Now see if you can get that same drawing in action even as you turn your right toes out. So now it's not quite as accessible with the right toes turning out, but see about pulling in first. And from that action, with the knee bent, you can feel a little bit more pulling in, engagement of the right leg. Inhale, lift your arms up for virabhadrasana 2. Keep the back leg strong. Keep pulling into the midline as you just drop a little bit lower and even take your gaze out over the extended hand. Root down through the back leg to inhale and rise up. Release your hands, and with the feet parallel to each other, slight bend to the knees, pull in again. And again, you can get with the feet parallel, you can really get this feeling of engagement, equal engagement, actually, balanced action in the legs. But sometimes when you turn your left toes out, as we'll do now, it's a little harder to feel that equality. See if you can manage to get same engagement as you bend the knee and inhale, sweep your arms up and take your gaze out over your left hand as you keep on pulling the feet in toward each other. Root down through the back leg to inhale and rise up. Have your feet parallel again. Pull in, pull the feet in toward each other, and keep that same drawing in as you turn the right toes out. Inhale, lift your arms up, bend your knee again, pull in, take your forearm down to the top of the thigh, swing your upper arm over your head, and just enjoy the length that you get. The more you pull into the midline, notice how you can get this lifting quality of the underside ribs as you extend to the side. Pull in the power of the legs to inhale and rise up. Other side, but first with parallel feet, pull in to kind of once again give you that understanding of this inner thigh action, the engagement of the inner thigh muscles. Turn your toes out, look at the alignment of your feet, bend your knees, pull into the midline. And slowly, let's come to Parsvakonasana. Place the forearm down. Take the top of the thigh back. Keep that strong muscular action. Root down from the tailbone to the earth to reach your arm up and over your head. Just come to the form of the pose that works nicely for you. Keep your back leg really engaged and inhale to rise up out of the pose. Come once again, both feet parallel, and release your hands with slightly bent knees. Pull into the midline. Keep that level of engagement as you turn your right toes out. Draw in again before expanding the arms and reaching out. Exhale, draw over to the side and pause here. Keep the legs just pulling in toward each other. There are a lot of variations, and I love the variation of extending the arm over the head. And if that feels good for you, then do that variation, or just keep the very traditional form of the triangle pose here. Pull the feet in toward the midline before lifting yourself up to come out of the pose. Parallel your feet again, slightly bent knees so you can re-engage the inner groin muscles before taking your left toes out. Keep the legs straight. Open the chest as you reach over to the side and down. Just come to the form of the pose that works for you with the stability of the legs, with the engagement of the legs. Again, a variation if you wish. Pull in to the midline before lifting yourself out of the pose. Release your hands. Now let's try balancing in that pose. And we were using blocks before when we were balancing on the same side, on the same leg and arm to come to a half moon pose. And you can use blocks if you wish, but I sometimes blocks actually create a little bit of wobbly sensations for some of us. So even with one foot lifted, we're still hugging the midline with the legs, right? That one lifted leg, if it's not engaged, then it's going to be harder to balance on that firm standing foundational leg. So see if we can keep that hugging to the midline action that we've been doing, even as you turn your right toes out, lift your arms up, draw over to the side. Now, take your lifted arm to your waist, look down to the floor, slowly bend the front knee. You can use your block or not, and try to extend your hand and just off to the diagonal here of the right foot before stepping in with the left. Once again, the leg stays very active. It's still pulling in when you come to the form of ardha chandrasana. So take the back leg up, open your chest nicely, reach your arm up, come to the balance pose. And again, any form of the pose, any variation that works for you. Some people like extending their arm forward. Some people like extending their back leg slightly more forward. Whatever variation. For me, coming out of the pose is a little bit more challenging than coming into the pose. So see how that is for you as you slowly bend your standing leg to reach your lifted leg back, to line up your foot with your front foot to come to triangle pose first before inhaling and lifting up. All right, release your hands. How was that for you? Were you able to still keep that hugging in action of the pose? Let's give us ourselves a little runway space by coming to the opposite end of the mat and lifting up. So that hugging in action of the legs keeps you stable, keeps you secure as you come to a triangle pose. And now, as we go slowly through the action, the slower you go, the more you can keep that stability. So you can bend the front knee, place your hand, step in, and as you feel rooted through the standing leg, now lift up the back leg. And as you get a nice steadiness here, you can start to shift the gaze of your eyes. So the lifted leg is so engaged. It's still doing that hugging in action. Even though it doesn't have a floor to work against, you're still working it very nicely as you reach your arm up. Get this nice fullness in the pose. And try to keep that ease with strength in the legs of coming out of the pose. So bend the standing leg, reach back, line up the arch of the foot with your front foot, and come to a triangle pose first before inhaling to lift your arms up. Exhale and release your hands. As you come to lying down in your pose, just pause with your knees bent. You can have a strap near you. We'll be using it shortly, but before we do, just pause here with your feet planted, with your breath very full. And just kind of notice as you feel your ribs move your clothing against the mat. You feel how expansive the breath can be. Maybe all that engagement of the legs, you kind of feel the result of that fullness of the engagement. You just pause. You assimilate our actions. Now draw your right knee in and just kind of give it a little hug in. Interlace your fingers on the back side of the thigh at the hamstrings there and lift your right foot up. So your right ankle is right over your knee. Maybe you can even grab hold of the foot or the shin and just draw it down and just a little bit more. And release your right foot down. Do the same with the left leg. Just draw your left knee in first. Just hug it in. Lift your left foot up so the ankle is right over the knee and interlace your fingers behind the thigh. Maybe you can even hold on to the foot with the right foot planted. Hold onto the shin to just go a little bit deeper there. And release your foot down. Now grab your strap and take your strap as you draw your right knee in and your right foot up. Take your strap around the base of the toes and lift your right foot up. Press the base of the right toes right into the strap and just pause here. Now see if you can create a little bit more curve by drawing your right foot just slightly away from your face. And you'll feel the low back lift slightly away from the mat. And we want that. Now straighten your left leg and have the left heel on the mat. But lift just to see what the engagement of the left leg could feel like. Lift the left foot up just slightly and just slightly off the mat. And notice how when you get that level of engagement, you're engaging all the way up to the core of your very being here. So keep that level of engagement, but take your left leg down. Can you still keep that engagement? So the left leg stays active as you take the strap in the right hand, draw your right foot over to the right side just slightly while reaching your left hand out. So you stabilize the left shoulder as the right foot moves to the right side. Keep that stability of the left leg as you spread your right toes, as you engage, as you draw from that engaged right foot all the way to the pelvis. Inhale and lift your right foot up. So we've only done one twist, so let's not carry this too far here as you take the left hand to the strap and reach your right arm to the side and just pass the right foot across the midline just slightly with the right hip still on the floor. Just getting a little bit of stretch to the outer right hip area. Now you can take it, the right foot, just a little bit more into a twisting action where the right hip now lifts off the mat. And have you forgotten about the engagement of your left foot? See about lifting your left foot just slightly off the mat to re-engage all the way to the area of the abdominals. Now release your left foot back to the mat, keeping that engagement. Root down through the left leg to inhale and lift your right leg up, and release your right foot to the earth, and just pause here for a moment. And notice how just a few minutes of these supine stretches called supta padottansana, you can really feel the difference in the legs and in the hip area. Let's go to the second side. So bend your knees and just to draw the left knee in as we were doing, with the left foot lifted up so that you can catch hold of the base of the toes there. And hold on to the strap on both sides of the strap. Just pause here. Now take your left foot just a little bit further away from your face so that you create a nice curve. And as you're ready, straighten your right leg. Now lift your right foot just slightly off the mat so that you can once again get that feeling of what is it to engage the right leg fully. Take the right foot back to the mat, but being aware of that engagement. Take the strap in your left hand. Reach your right arm out to stabilize the right shoulder. Again, keeping awareness to the right leg, draw your left leg just slightly to the side. Keep a nice level of engagement, a nice fullness to the area of the heart. And root down through the right leg to lift your left leg up. Now take hold of the strap with your right hand, and with your left hip still on the floor, just pass the left foot just slightly across the midline. Same thing, the right leg has to be active, so just to check in, lift the right heel just slightly up off the mat. Get that action before placing the right heel down and letting the left hip leave the earth as you draw into a deeper twist. Draw over to the side. Root down through the strength of the right leg to support a lift of the left leg, and slowly release both legs down. With both knees bent, grab a block if you've got it, or let's come to a bridge pose if your block's not available. But I'd like the supported bridge pose here to just pause for a moment. So slide your block under your low back to get a nice lift to your heart. Keeping that, the elevation of your pelvis. See about lifting your feet up. And notice if you take your feet just slightly back away from your face, you get just a little bit more engagement in the abdominals. The knees can be slightly bent, and that for many of us just allows a little bit better engagement. Keep the engagement and tone of the legs by spreading your toes. And breathe very free and natural. This supported shoulder stand just allows kind of a resting pulsation of the heart. It allows for a certain coolness and calmness after the practice. And if for you, you're not feeling that sensation, you can just release your feet down. If it doesn't feel like an easeful action for you, by all means, just create a pose that allows for a nice lift of the heart, a nice engagement of the breath, and a feeling of overall softness, of ease. Take 3 more breaths in whatever pose that you're in. And slowly bend your knees to take your feet to the earth and pause there. Pause even as you remove the block. Pause with the pelvis slightly lifted. And as you slowly release the pelvis down, just allow for a nice soft landing. You may want to come to happy baby pose if you wish, or some way to just massage the back muscles as you move your knees side to side. And as you're ready, you can slowly release your feet down to the earth. Stretch your legs out to come to Shavasana, our resting pose. This pose where we assimilate the actions that we've done. Today we had some strong actions with the legs. See if the legs will just completely release. Take your attention back to the breath. Allow for a very free and natural cycle of the in-breath and the out-breath. Take this time to enjoy Shavasana, where you assimilate these actions that we've done during the practice. If you don't have time for a full Shavasana, go easily into your daily activities. Thank you for joining the practice. Namaste.